Hey guys, welcome. It's time for a question. Have you thought that if you get that fantastic project right there on the harbour, perhaps, that fantastic client who wants you to do this huge job for them in the most premium location in your city, that you had it made? Well, that's until they start to pull apart your contract and, scrub out parts and tell you they're not going to do that in that way, that you're going to do things in their way. You can smooth it all over though, right? And you can kind of make it better. They just need a chance to work with you to see how fantastic you are. Well, maybe you can smooth things over and maybe you can't. How the project ends is how the project begins. That's the truth. What I'm going to talk to you about in this episode is how you can identify what really could be a potential nightmare client. Let's have a chat. So guys, hey, welcome. It's episode 16 of So You Want to Be an Interior Designer podcast, and I'm so pleased to have you here with me. Now, this show is aimed at the solopreneur, mid-career aspiring solopreneur that is either flailing or you've just started your business and you really need some hand-holding to get things back on track. So my aim is to really give you the guidance and support to take on the jobs that you want to take on rather than the ones that you feel you need to take on to pay those bills. And you might even be working 9 to 5 while you're doing it. So stick with me. I'm going to be sharing some great information with you that I know you'll benefit from if that's you. So before we kick on with the episode, which is a really interesting one, the nightmare client, I want to take you through and give you a lead to my quiz. How are you going with that design business of yours? Are you flailing a little bit? Do you want to know where your strengths and opportunities are? Well, if you do, take my quiz. It's over at adamscougall.com/quiz. Have a look at the link below and let me know how you go. I'd love to know how you went with the quiz. You'll get a report. It only takes about 2 or 3 minutes. So hang in there. I think it's about 15 questions. But do let me know how you go. And if you want to have a chat about it, give me an email or send me an email to adam@adamscougall.com. So let's get on with the show. What I want to do in this episode is obviously have a chat about what you need to look out for. I want to give you 3 things to consider and 3 kind of red lights that will happen that you may want to recognize and say, this is really nightmare client territory. Now, they may be a nightmare client or they might just be difficult to deal with. But what I would like you to benefit from in this episode is by asking you to address some of these issues that come up or have come up. For some people, they have come up for me as red flags. And it's good to be sort of forewarned and be looking out for things like what I'm about to mention. There's 3 specific things I want you to look out for. Or it could be something similar where you need to assess whether or not you're comfortable continuing this relationship with what could be potentially a nightmare client. But I want to take you back and tell you a story. It seems fitting to this scenario. I just wonder if you remember that movie, A Devil Wears Prada. I think it was about 2006. So the movie revolved, I'm sure you remember it, around the character of Andy. And Andy had really, I'm just reading the description. She was an aspiring journalist who recently graduated, this is a story, from Northwestern University. Despite her unfamiliarity with the fashion industry, she is hired as a junior personal assistant to Miranda Priestly. I bet it's all coming back to you now. The editor-in-chief of Runway magazine. Now, this movie was a huge success. I think it came out in about 2006. And I think they even, of course, compared the character that Meryl Streep played, which was Miranda Priestly, to Anna Wintour, the famous editor, long-standing editor of Vogue magazine. But the reason I'm mentioning this story to you is because it's very timely in terms of what Andy went through and how she tried to sort of fit the square peg into a round hole, meaning that she tried to really do everything that Miranda Priestly wanted her to do to get the approval. And at the end of the day, it's really about, it's us making a decision. Do we need to consider the extent to which we're willing to meet our job expectations and whether it's sustainable in the long run? And that is really something I resonate with, and something you could resonate with if you start to try and fit that square peg into the round hole with somebody who you shouldn't be working for, a nightmare client. Now, a nightmare client can do all sorts of things to really throw you and your business into a fizz. And I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into a scenario that happened to me a few years ago and see if you can relate to that. And if you're in a situation where you're at a crossroads, you're wondering whether you should continue to work with potentially somebody who could fit the bill in the way that we're talking about, Miranda Priestley at Runway magazine, and how difficult it was for Andy to make her happy, and the things she had to go to do that, which ultimately led to her, I think, leaving the position and not actually, completing her tenure working for this person, because it was untenable for her to continue. Just some food for thought there, but this is kind of this film and that whole idea of the boss, the hard-hitting boss, and the subservient employee can sometimes relate to us in our design career. So one thing I want to ask you to look out for, this is one that happened to me. I'm going to give you 3 ways that you can identify a potential nightmare client, and here we go. Number 1 is they want to dictate how you will work with them. So this is a big one to look out for, and you will pick up signs of this very quickly once you start to have conversations with people or a person that potentially you shouldn't be working for. And one of the things that could happen is that potential client of yours could start to nitpick, say, your contract, and give you a whole lot of reasons as to why they are not prepared to go through with the terms of your contract. Now, if you have created a contract and you're very happy with the terms, I'm hoping one of those terms is that you're paid in full for your design services before you begin the design process, then you want to stick with what you know is set up to support you in your success in your business. So one of the things that I've had in the past, before I really had coaching and had self-worth, I think is a good way to put it, was that this particular client said that she wasn't prepared to do payment in advance, and that she would pay a certain percentage and the rest I would have to wait for. Now, I was doing all of the work up front at that time, and although the project was a great project for me at the time, that I thought was a great project to work on in a great suburb in Sydney, I started to feel very resentful of the fact that I wasn't getting paid in full. And guess what? The percentage that I wasn't paid up front took a while to get paid to me, even though I'd done all of the design work. So things like that can really be a red flag to you. Anything in that contract that the client is not happy with, if anyone starts to pull apart your contract and tell you that it's unworkable and that you'll need to change your contract to suit their terms, well then that's a huge red flag to me, and it should be a huge red flag to you. You want to be confident in your contract and stand by it. And the best way to kick off, I talked about the way the project ends is the way it begins. The best way to kick off in the beginning is to stand strong, say, by your contract, and be able to explain why all of the terms in the contract are there to support your client first and foremost, but also to support you as a business owner. So, I've had lots of conversations with people, and I've gone through my contract in the initial consultation. I normally go through that at the end. I've had people say to me, well, I don't like the way that you only give me 50% of the discount on product, which I don't do anymore. I don't give them any discount on product anymore. But I don't like the way you've got that in your contract. I think you should be giving me 100% of your discount. Now, I remember having that conversation in a cafe with one particular gentleman, and you can guess what happened. We went nowhere. This person was not respectful of my desire or need to be profitable in my business. And the project did not go any further than a couple of extra calls after that. But these are the things you want to look out for. Now, when I say nightmare client, it doesn't mean that they're an absolute horror in terms of you're running and making a phone call to Triple O, unless maybe you're stressed and need to go to hospital. But what I'm saying is they mightn't be sort of these maniacs that cause utter havoc, but there's enough of the control element that can happen that really makes you resent what you're doing and really starts to make you dislike this person for putting you in a position, and sometimes it's a position of being powerless. And it also has a poor reflection on your self-worth, because you're thinking, how did I let myself get kind of just dragged into this situation where I really, whatever I say, I feel like I'm just a direct report to a really awful boss, maybe like Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada. So number one, if they want to dictate how you work with them and you know your contract is fair and sound, for example, then that is the first red flag, and it's up to you to decide whether you continue to stand by your guns, or you may say, look, you obviously are not in alignment with the way that I work, and I've put this contract for the benefit of both parties. It doesn't sound like we are in alignment, so I feel it's best for us not to continue to work on this project together. And you're absolutely going to be in the best possible position with that. The other thing I want to say to you is, once you start to say no to people like the Miranda Priestleys of the world, and that client that I did continue with for some time, actually 2 projects, that wanted to tell me, when I was going to get paid and how much of it I should get paid in advance, how much I should hang around and wait for when she was ready to pay it, then, I really started to, my self-worth just dropped. I was kind of just a lackey. And after I actually fired that particular client, it took me 2 jobs to end up doing that. It's only then that I started to feel that strength and ownership of my career and the way that I worked. And from then on, do you know what happens? People start to automatically align with you, and they don't come to you with these crazy demands. In fact, I don't think I've had anyone after that really came through and was questioning me on my processes like that and anymore and wanting to change them. I think you sort of exude this different energy. I know it sounds a bit hokey pokey, but I really do feel that once you feel that positivity and that strength in yourself, that you end up not attracting the type of person that's just going to drag you around and really demoralize you. Let's move on to number 2. So number 2, this is a big one. They want to bargain down your fees. This is a huge no-no for you, and it's a huge no-no for me. But it has happened, That same client, this client's a great storybook, because virtually everything that I wouldn't put up with now, this one client was able to take me through and give me my awareness and learning in that actually by the second job took me 2 jobs with this person to continue on with them. But they want to bargain down your fees. So this particular client, for example, said to me, the design fee, first and foremost, it happens, a lot of the time it can happen like this. You have your consult and then you send out a fee proposal. And you know what, when you do the fee proposal, I don't know if you felt like this, so I think a lot of people do. You send your fee proposal out, and firstly you're kind of going, gee, I've set the fee proposal out. I wonder if they'll go ahead. I wonder if I've charged them too much money. Oh, gee, maybe I shouldn't have. I should have taken out a few hours. It's a common thing. Designers still go through this. It doesn't matter how many years they've been going. They still all feel as if they have either overcharged. That's the first thing. You feel like you've overcharged if you don't get confirmation from your client that they want to go ahead straight away. You always feel as if there's potentially a problem and that they may not go ahead because it's too expensive. But a lot of the time that's just in our heads and it works out, especially if we've worked out our numbers, worked out our time, worked out, if we're moving forward, thinking about our hourly rate and how much time that it takes us, say, to put together a design, then if we have all of that documented, which I do, I can go back at any point and look at the hours and justify that. If I'd have just pulled a figure out of where and just thought, oh, well, that sounds right, I probably wouldn't feel that confident in explaining myself if I needed to, if the client asked me how that figure arose. At the end of the day, your design fee is your design fee. But when your client wants to bargain that fee down, it's a big red flag. So especially one of the things that you can come across is people that want to, pay you cash, say, so that they can avoid, say, the tax that might be added on. In Australia, it's a goods and services tax. But they may not want to pay the tax so that they can get a discount on the fees. Now, the problem with that is if you're paying cash, then normally you need to, if we're really being dodgy here, there should be no there should be no emails and invoices and things like that can be audited to see this goods and service tax to even begin with, which means that you're working off just kind of a verbal agreement, which, to the client, that's not actually very good for them, because who knows what you could choose to do. You could go AWOL, you could disappear. If they pay you cash, then who knows, what's going to happen. Normally the type of people I'm talking about, or the person I was speaking about, she had lots of money, and I think she could probably come after me with no problem if she wanted to get lawyers involved. But she still wanted to go that cash route to save some dollars on the design fee. So for me, that's not a great thing. We should be declaring our income to the tax department. We know that. But if you've got things like that happening, then that is a huge red flag. We want to run businesses that we run out of integrity, and we don't want people nickel and diming us, getting our fees down. At the end of the day, why should the fees come down? The fees should only come down so that the person on the other end who's receiving the bill is able to pay less. But it's a little old designer, you and me, on the other end that gets paid less. And how does that work? Why would we want to go ahead with that? Our design fees have been calculated based on normally the amount of time it takes us to do something. So there you go. If you're, number two is, they want to bargain down your fees. If you're in that situation, I would not be continuing on with a client like this, or very firmly say, that's not the way we work. You can actually, let me just clarify here. You can actually be nice about this. And I have had clients say, oh, do you want cash for that? But they're not demanding that you reduce the amount of money that you're charging so that they can have a cash agreement. I have had people say to me, do you want any part of that as cash? And I've politely said, no, thank you. That's not the way that I work. So there's a difference. We have to know the difference. Bargaining the fee down by paying cash is one thing, and then politely correcting the way that we do business to other people that are, maybe just trying to help us out is another thing. You get my drift. Number three, this is such a big one. They don't let you know that you're valued. They don't. Do you feel that it's important for your client to value you as much as you value them? My answer to that, I'm asking myself the same question, is absolutely yes. Do you know, in our workplace, if you're working in a corporate environment or any other environment that is regulated, where you go in and you receive a paycheck and you report to a manager, do you know it is the policy of most of those organisations to praise and acknowledge good work from the people that are working in that business. So you've got a leader at some point, and you've got a person that reports to that leader. Now, it is not uncommon for there to be, very regimented processes in there where the person reporting to the leader is told of their value and awarded. There are employee awards and recognition. Reward and recognition is a way to put it. Now, the funny thing is, in our own businesses, we don't have a procedure set up where our client needs to reward and recognise us. We ask them for a testimonial, and we hope we get it. It's great when we get it. But what if you come across the type of client that is, they don't feel any need to let you know you're valued, they don't tell you the work is good, and they don't tell anybody else about you as well. Now, a couple of things you can refer to here is, am I running a really sound business, and is what I do, am I running my business with integrity and with sound processes? Am I doing a good job? Am I respectful with my trades? Am I respectful with my client? Do I communicate often at a certain time every week? Am I transparent about the way I'm billing? All that stuff. Now, if you know you're running your business properly, you should really expect there to be a real common respect there in terms of you being told that you actually have run a really nice project and there's been a great outcome in the final result. Most clients will do that. They can't wait to tell you how much they love their new home. And, a lot of the time people will, tell you in a lovely email later on, or give you a card, or they'll often give a present to you when you hand over that project and just say thank you. That's something that, I don't expect my clients to give me a present, but it's wonderful when they do, because it's validation to me, and it should be to you, that you've done a great job. But when you've got somebody that at no point is telling you that your process or your work is of any value, then just be careful. And this can happen right at the beginning of the consultation. I ask my potential clients if they've seen my portfolio, what they like. Now, in the old days, I used to get quite a few leads through, platforms like House. And you would get a lot of people calling, and they might be calling 2 or 3 designers and just getting quotes and things like that. A lot of the time they haven't even looked at the website. They're just ringing people, and it's all about price. Now, I've been in a number of consultations, I can say, where that person, yes, they can't tell me what they like about my website or any of the design work I've done. They don't really have a reference of somebody that I've worked with. That can be a tough one. But if somebody can't tell you from the beginning that they like the way you work, it all seems pretty sound, and it seems like you know what you're doing, there's structure there, that's the first thing that somebody should say when they read your contract. If they're iffing and butting and not happy with that and not happy with the discount, and they want more and they don't want this, and they can't at any point tell you that there's been any reason they've contacted you for your own unique value, i.e. your beautiful portfolio or your contract or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be much. But if they find it hard to find any value or express to you any value in what you're offering, then this could be a big red flag as well. And this could potentially be how the project continues on. You don't want to be working for someone who considers you to be, just a direct report, an employee, a contractor. That is just a means to an end. What we do is not a means to an end. I don't believe what we do to be a means to an end, and that's not how I communicate what I do to anybody that is a potential client. And it's all about how you are going to position yourself and your business as you move forward in your career. Are you just a means to an end provider, a commodity, or are you someone providing an amazing experience, a transformational experience where you're really creating the most wonderful home that suits the whole family's lifestyle and needs? I'm hoping that's what you're aiming to do for your clients, is to absolutely nail that. If you don't feel valued by your client and you can pick up on this straight away, I would be very careful about moving forward with them. So there's a few things there to consider. I liked that little, kind of reference to A Devil Wears Prada. I love that film. But I do remember the struggles that Andy went through with Miranda Priestley. And I do kind of take a reference from that with that situation that I told you about with that particular client. Fantastic home. And I did a second project with that client. Great location. But you know what? I knew that I was getting into another situation where, again, cash wanted to be paid. Cash wanted to be paid the second time. We didn't do cash the first. Not telling me, not giving me a heads up on exactly what the budget was. And I didn't push for what the budget was. So when you're running blind on budgeting and that type of thing, and you're speccing or specifying products that are too high, then you're risking, taking all that time to do that and having the client say, no, that's too expensive. I ended up firing that client. That client wanted to continue on with a few odds and ends. And I even got an email recently where I don't think it was like a hi Adam email. Can you send me the photos from that project? It's like, Which photos? Hi, how are you? It's been 5 years. I'm well, thanks. But you want the photos? Which photos? You know, photos that you don't own, that you didn't pay for. So anyway, enough said there. That's enough. I'll say enough about that. But 3 things to really consider. You may have already come across some of these things at some point in your career so far. But if you haven't, and you start to get into situations where, 3 things here. They're dictating how you'll work with them. They want to change your contract. They want to bargain down your fees. Definitely, that's a no-go, including taking your discount or expecting you to provide discounts. And they're not letting you know that you're valued. You know, it's reciprocal. If someone values you, you want to do the very best. You want to be better. If you get acknowledged and you get told that you're worthy, you'll actually do better than if people ignore that and just expect you to rattle on like some workhorse. So I'm going to leave it there for the week. And again, if you're flailing along in your new design career, if you've been going for a while, it might even be new, but you really are at a crossroads, jump on over to adamscougall.com/quiz, link below, and take the quiz and let me know how you go. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think of this episode. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Apple Podcasts, I'd love you to leave a comment, leave a review. And until next time, I want to let you know that you are awesome. Hang in there. Things will improve if they're floundering a bit at the moment. You are worthy, you are worth it, and you are talented. And if people aren't letting you know that, and you're wondering if you are, I'm here to bolster you up and tell you that you are talented. You're here for a reason. You're going to nail it. Anyway, until next time, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will see you next Tuesday for the next episode. See you then.